Hi, hello, my name's Anthony Francis, and I'm the author of the book Think It, Plan It, Do It Now. The book is actually a very interesting book for those who want to actually find out how to take an idea from inception to planning and then execution. The idea was born out of my background, which is as a project manager. I've had 30 years as project management professional, both in the public and private sectors. And during that period, I've noticed a lot of the time that people start ideas, but they never seem to actually follow them through. These are individuals. And so, what motivated me to write the book was really to try and overcome some of the challenges that I've seen people do when they actually think they have an idea, they want to try and get the thing put out there in the public domain, or they want to actually achieve a particular goal. And they seem to just start with all the great intentions and all the great ideas and their inspiration and they're motivated, but it seems to wane. And I was looking at this and wondering, well, why is it that people start things and they never seem to be able to finish them? And this was the whole premise behind the book, and hence the reason why the title of the book is called Think It, Plan It, and Do It Now. And the main premise behind the book is that when you actually have an idea, the first thing that you really want to do to define whether or not you're going to be able to complete this idea is what is your commitment factor? What is the driving force around why you want to actually do this particular task or idea or goal in the first place? So the book itself isn't a long book. It's only about 120 pages long, and I deliberately wrote it in a short style, mainly because if it was 300 or 400 pages, it wouldn't be something that people might want to think and plan and do now. It might be something they would think and plan and do later. So the idea was to make something which was both accessible, easy to understand, easy to implement, and easy to read. And so what I've done is I've broken the book down into 10 distinct chapters. And these chapters are the commitment chapter, the defining your goals chapter, the five-step method as to how you go about actually achieving your goals, how to actually take action, uh, distractions and procrastination, which is a really important area to address. A lot of people start, but they get distracted or they find procrastination creeps in. How you can actually take responsibilities and get things done. Why doing things is now is better than getting things perfect. So that's another area that a lot of people find they struggle in. They seem to want perfection. How you can focus on your strengths, how you can stay motivated. And also, there's a chapter in there which is a wrap-up chapter, which simply pulls everything together in order to make sure that the person stays on track. So just going through the basis of the different chapters themselves to just break it down, just to give you some insight. The first chapter is about commitment, and really it's to try and make individuals who read the book find a way of actually understanding and owning their why. Because unless you're committed to something, you really won't you won't take it forward. So that's why I've actually tried to make sure the book has been done in a way where the first chapter is really about your commitment. Then I go around and look at how do you define your goals? What is it that you want to achieve and why? This is very important because if you're not motivated to achieve your goals, if it's not something that is really important to you as a priority, then you're going to get bored and you're not going to follow it through. So we really look at the reasons behind the goals so that you can actually stay motivated. Then we introduced the five-step method that allows you to have a plan of action so that you can actually take the idea from conception into a plan and how you can implement it. Then we go into the next phase, which is how do you actually take action? Because one of the things that people tend to get stuck on is that they start something, but they don't really know how to follow through. They think it, they plan it, but they don't know how to do it. And so this particular chapter talks about that. Then we go into procrastinations and distractions, and we really look at what are the things that hold people back. What are the things that will actually cause someone to get distracted and cause procrastination? Then we look at taking responsibility. Once you've identified those key areas in procrastination distraction, how can you take responsibility to keep going forward? Then we look at why it's better to be done than perfect, because a lot of people they do start off with their intentions, and for some unknown reason they think everything has to be perfect. So the chapter really details out that getting things done and getting your first iteration is more important than thinking that you want something perfect, because you'll never get something perfect and things will always be improving. Then we look at how you can focus on your strengths, because a lot of people seem to feel that they have to maybe pull different resources from here, there, and everywhere, when really a lot of the time they've actually already got that innate ability to get the thing done. So we look at how you focus on your strengths, and then we go through the penultimate chapter, which is do it now or regret it later. A lot of people have great intentions, but sadly, they think about these things and they never actually get round to doing it. And so this chapter really is a motivation and a real sort of get up and go. How can you actually do it now, and as opposed to regretting it later? Because the one thing that a lot of people always regret in life later on is, I wish I'd done this, or I regret I didn't do that. So this chapter is really to overcome those areas. And then the final chapter is how do you actually stay motivated? And this chapter is really to try and make sure that you stay on track and you follow through and you actually do it now. As the book says, it's think it, plan it, do it now. Now, the book itself can be found on my website, which is detailed below, antonyfrancis.com, but it's also available on Amazon in all the different formats, from ebook to hardback, and also to an Audible. And I've done it in those three different formats, mainly so as to make sure that anybody who happens to have a different style of reading, through listening to reading on ebooks, on Kindles, or those who actually like to have the paperback as I do, they've got a copy with them and they can scan it through. You can also dip in and out of each chapter without having to sort of go through the previous one, albeit it's good to go through and do a complete sit-in. I think the book you could have probably finished quite easily within a couple of hours. And I think the whole premise of the book is to try and get things done. Now, again, my background as a project manager, I've taken some of those learnings and I've made sure that I've implemented them within the book in an easy to read style, which I hope most people will find useful as well as being entertaining. It does cover a lot of the things that we all perhaps sometimes struggle with. And it does hopefully will provide a resource that you can go back to again and again. Now, the book itself has had some very favorable reviews, both on Amazon and other platforms. And I hope that you'll be the next person to actually read the book and also make your comments and reviews on Amazon as well. The book itself, as I mentioned, is available on Amazon. It's in Audible, it's on Kindle, and it's also on the paperback version. But again, you can also find a copy and further information and to be able to read some of the testimonials on my website, which is detailed below. Once again, the book details how you can take your ideas and develop them into plans and then actually execute them. The book is ideal for those who certainly at Christmas have New Year resolutions and sometimes struggle to actually follow these things through. I hope the book you'll find interesting. I hope the book will make you feel inspired and motivated to actually follow things through yourself. And I hope it will inspire you to give it to other people who also you may feel have got ideas and plans, but for some unknown reason never quite seem to see them through. So once again, the book is called Think It, Plan It, Do It Now. It's a very straightforward read. I hope you'll find it entertaining as well as interesting. And I hope it will actually make you overcome some of those inertia moments where you suddenly doubt yourself or you have areas of concern. For me, I've gone on to actually do a lot of coaching with individuals to help them in areas around self-doubt and confidence to enable them to actually take their next steps forward. And again, if that's something that you'd like to explore further, you can find further details on the website, which is listed below. What I'd also like to say in closing is to thank the platform for allowing me to actually come on and to promote the book. And I hope that those who do read it will take the trouble and time to provide any comments and feedback, because I'm always looking for opportunities to improve the book going forward in its next iteration. So once again, this has been me, Anthony Francis, and talking about my book, Think It, Plan It, Do It Now, which is available on all formats on Amazon, in Kindle version, on Audible, and also in paperback and hardback. Thank you.
Greetings, greetings. I am Nubian Nigist from the Nubian Nigist books, and it's a pleasure, as always, to be on the International Book Show and speaking with Makonnen Sankofa. So today I will be recommending three books, and these books, these three books, I don't personally have, but I'm just recommending for your reading. The first one is The Diary of Sarah Forbes Bonetta. Now, everybody thinks that we came in the Windrush era, but that's not true. We've been here hundreds of years in the United Kingdom. And Sarah, her origin is from Nigeria, and she was taken from Nigeria because there was a war between the Dahomey and where she comes from, that particular area in Nigeria. And her parents had moved away and built up a new empire. And they were killed with the raid because it was a slave raid. So she was taken into slavery for a short time, 2 years. And then what it was Captain Forbes from Victoria. He was connected to Queen Victoria, who went there to the King of Dahomey to say that there should be no longer any more slaves being taken, or we don't say slave, but Africans taken, stolen, and brought over to the United Kingdom, and where the United Kingdom had the empires to enslave our people. So she came, and Mr. Forbes, or Captain Forbes, he intervened, and he suggested that no, the King of Dahomey was going to sacrifice Sarah. And what happened? Mr. Forbes spoke to the king, gave gifts, and then the king gave Sarah as a gift to the queen. So this is what actually saved her life. And she was brought up and reared into Windsor Castle. The Queen, Victoria, loved her so much so, and she was a prodigy, bright little girl, absolutely beautiful. And what she'd done in the time, she wrote her diary and all what she thought and so forth. So she was brought up into the Windsor Palace and brought up to be such a beautiful young lady. And in the end, she had to, because it wasn't her choice, she married, and she married a wealthy businessman who was also a philanthropist. And they married and went back to Africa. And now they have descendants there. So this is a book just to show you that we were here in the United Kingdom, and this is just one aspect of what it was like being an African living and reared in the United Kingdom, and she was of royalty. My second book is by one of our authors in London, and her name is Alicia Greenwich, and she is a Pan-Africanist, an activist, doing a lot of hard work in the community. And she decided to do some research, and she's done an excellent research. This book is Amy Jacques Garvey, Inspirational Queen Mother. And there were two Amys. The first wife was Amy. Um, oh gosh, it's just slipped me now. But she's the second wife, and her name was Amy Jacques. So she was the one that actually wrote everything about Marcus Garvey, and she actually wrote the book, The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Now, what Alicia has done is actually done some research on Amy Jacques herself, and what an inspirational lady she was. Her work is profound. She wrote several books as well. So Alicia's literally physically gone to Jamaica and done a lot of research about Amy. And this is what she says on the back of the book is of Black liberation. This is Amy Jacques Garvey, and it's for readers interested in the phenomenal, chaotic leadership of Amy Jacques Garvey within the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Community League. So we always abbreviate it as UNIA/ACL. Amy Jacques was also an inspirational queen mother of Black liberation, and she highlights her professional leadership, exceptional courage, and formidable intellectual insight that, together with the determined rank and file of the UNIA ACL, effectively organise against American and British political injustice and structural racism. So this book goes into her, from when she was growing up to the young lady, from when she left left Jamaica and went to America, where she met the Honourable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and she found him so inspirational. This lady, phenomenal. She could speak languages. She was so well educated and so down to earth. And when there was issues with Marcus Garvey being in prison and so everything, she held the organisation up. You can get this book directly from Alicia, which is from the Kulakajia Talks. So that will be in the bottom. I can be contacted Nubian Nigist Books 7@gmail.com. Also, a quick one is a great cricketer. This is by Hilary MC Beckles, and he did a research onto cricketer's first revolutionary, Frank Worrell's, an extraordinary man. Not only was he a professional cricketer and a captain for how many years of the West Indian cricket team, he was also someone to be reckoned with. For the work that he'd done, he left Barbados and he went to Jamaica, and he went right down into the ghetto, right down where the everyday persons were, and he built a youth cricket team, and he also is loved by the Indians because on one of the matches, one of the players was hurt, and he actually rounded up the team to give blood. So he's an honourable man. This book is phenomenal. So I would highly recommend it, that you read about our greats in sports, music, arts, and who also did the revolutionary work. So this book is available by the Black History books. I haven't personally got this book, but it's highly recommendable. So now and again, when I come onto the International Book Show, I will recommend books that should be not only sitting on your bookshelf, but to be read and for you to get some knowledge that would help you in your sojourn for yourself and for your family and the future generations, so that we can leave a legacy of our giants, those who paved the way for us. And a lot of them actually wrote books. So I'm an avid activist for everyone to be reading and enjoying. So, yes, Makonnen Sankofa, just to say, keep up with the excellent work that you always do, and literally getting authors, writers around the world. It's just absolutely amazing from when you started to where you are now. So keep up with the good work, and we'll take it from there. So, yet again, I'm called Nubian Nagist Books, and the email is nubiannagistbook7@gmail.com.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mervelee Myers. I style myself your blogger from Almagrove. I'm based in South London, Southwark. I'm all the way in London. I'm aware I'm going international, and that is great for me. I am privileged to be voicing my book in honor of strong women everywhere. This has been a journey of 10 years after the death of my mother. And I just want to say a big thank you to those people who have come across my book and is using it to empower women like my mother, who never had a voice, in terms of she was not able to communicate her love, her passion, her care intellectually for us her children, and those people she sacrificed her life to care for. My book can be found on Amazon in paperback and hard copy. Mervelee Myers is an international person as well. And coupling myself, being given this privilege on the International Book Show, is just another extension of the person who I am. I must put on the record that I grew up with 7 brothers in a village in a place I call Townhead, Westmoreland, Jamaica, where it takes a village to raise the child. And that child was Mervelee Nemhard, now Mervelee Myers Tomlinson, a tomboy. But my whole life changed because of disabilities and poverty. But at no time did I let the disability and poverty affect the way I was raised. My passion comes back from having a mother who wasn't a talker to a father who was the epitome of passing on knowledge, a storyteller, an avid Christian. Hence the reason I passed Bible knowledge with credit before going to secondary school. I have that in my background, but I'm a person who was like my father. I celebrate everything. And that is one of the reasons I want to put across and tell the world about how Mervelee's passion starting writing from the time my father was stricken with Parkinson's. And that totally changed my mind. So for me, writing became a way of life. And I guess I inherited some of my father's gift in that my father knew the Bible from cover to cover. And if he tells you a scripture, he might be able to say where in the Bible you can find it, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, wherever. I'm not like that. I have to write everything down, or now with the advent of we are recording, I have to record, or else it's gone out of my head. So today I'm here promoting my book and telling the world I also have to give credence to people like my interviewer, a young man I met at Garfield Robinson's event for the first time. You might have seen him other place, but we actually develop a talking relationship when we meet at Garfield. We traveled on the same bus. And that's one of the reasons I'm here, because we have to be conscious of the fact that my manuscript was stolen by a young lady who I paid for to help me do some work. And this same manuscript was published by a young man I meet at Rastafari Birdlegs. I have to get Rastafari Birdlegs in, because it was Rastafari Birdlegs who put me on his Black perspective at Elim House, so people could realize and see Mervelee in another format that I can perform and I can deliver on stage. I am just going to be talking for those people like my mother. I'm conscious of the fact that there are even young people out there who do not have a voice. I invested in what I call my Fight for Justice campaign. I started my Fight for Justice campaign on Facebook, covering subjects from the cradle to the grave, talking about my auntie, Iselin Powell, aka Chilling Nemhard, the only one left of my father's sibling. She was born on the 27th of October. Three of my grandmothers, Irene Mills, them her children were born on that day, including my father. She's the only one left alive, and this is more to honor her than anybody else, as she is in transition on her way out. So I want to end by singing this thingy. I'm getting very nervous now. When once I found a mother's church, when once I found a mother's church, when once I found a mother's church, I worship down today. It makes me think of good old times before my head was gray. That's Mervelee Myers. A little package. You can find more online. Thank you very much. I'm privileged to be speaking, and I'm getting all welled up, but I know that's me. Whatever you see and hear, that's what you get. One true Jamaican.
Hello, my name is Winnifred Reed, and I'm an author and teacher. I can be found on TikTok and Instagram at I am Winnie Reed. Today, I would like to talk to you about my journey as an author and my love for Jamaica, the land of wood and water. As a Jamaican-born teacher with over 30 years of experience, I've always been passionate about educating young minds and inspiring them to appreciate the beauty and diversity of the world around them. Hence, I have written 3 books: Adventures in Beautiful Jamaica, Fimi Jamaica, Land of Wood and Water, and Make We Go to Jamaica. These books are more than just stories. They're a celebration of Jamaicans' vibrant culture, rich history, and stunning natural beauty. Adventures in Beautiful Jamaica takes young readers on a fun and educational journey through the island's breathtaking landscapes. From climbing Dunn's River Falls to savoring delicious Jamaican cuisine, this book is full of exciting adventures that will leave you wanting more. With its engaging narrative and beautiful illustrations, this book is perfect for children and families looking to explore Jamaica's wonders. One of the main purposes of writing this book was to share the beauty of Jamaica with the world and to inspire young people to appreciate their own cultural heritage. Fimi Jamaica, Land of Wood and Water, is an anthology of poems that pays tribute to the island's unique spirit and traditions. Through lyrical verses, we explore Jamaica's majestic landscapes, bustling streets, and diverse heritage. This book showcases the island's natural beauty, rich history, and cultural depth, highlighting the resilience and creativity of its people. From the misty celebration, from the misty mountains to the sun-kissed beaches of Negril, each poem is a celebration of Jamaica's splendor. By writing this book, I aimed to preserve the legacy of Jamaica's history and culture for future generations and to share the island's story with the world. Make We Go to Jamaica. This is a children's travel guide and cultural exploration that invites young readers to embark on a journey through the heart of the island. With poetic verses and rhythmic prose, we discover the island's lush landscapes, vibrant culture, and warm-hearted people. This book is an excellent resource for children and parents alike. This book is an excellent resource for children as they will find out about tourism, local economy, and it also showcases the natural beauty and warm hospitality of Jamaicans. But why write about Jamaica? For me, it's about sharing our story with the world, preserving our legacy for future generations, and inspiring others to visit and experience the beauty of our island. I want to inform and educate others about Jamaica's history, culture, and traditions, and to promote cross-cultural understanding and appreciation. By writing about Jamaica, I also aim to celebrate the island's unique spirit and traditions, showcase the resilience and creativity of its people, provide a platform for Jamaican voices to be heard, foster a sense of national pride and identity, inspire a love of learning and exploration in young readers, and support the local economy through tourism and cultural exchange. I think about the families, children, and grandchildren of Jamaicans who may never have visited the island. I want them to know about their heritage, to feel connected to their roots, and to appreciate the sacrifices and struggles of our ancestors. Through my books, I hope to leave a lasting legacy for future generations, a written record of Jamaica's past, present, and future. But today, I want to acknowledge the devastating impact of Hurricane Melissa on our island. The storm brought destruction and displacement, leaving many without power, water, or homes. My heart goes out to my family and all those other families affected, and I hope that my books can provide a sense of comfort and connection to our island's spirit. As we rebuild and recover from the hurricane, I hope that my books can serve as a reminder of the beauty and strength of Jamaica. Let's work together to rebuild and restore our communities and to preserve the legacy of our island for future generations. Despite the challenges that we face, I believe that our stories, our culture, our tradition, and most of all, our resilience will shine through, and more people will appreciate, visit, and want to learn more about our Jamaica. As an author, I'm proud to be part of a legacy of writers who have shared their stories, preserved their culture, and inspired others to do the same. I hope that my books will continue to inspire future generations to learn more about, appreciate, and celebrate the beauty and magic of Jamaica. As our motto says, out of many, one people. We are one people wherever we are in the world. And I hope that you will read my books and learn more about my beautiful Jamaica as it was and is after Hurricane Melissa. So let the rhythms of Jamaica guide you, and may the beauty, history, and culture of our island stay with you forever. I hope you'll join me on this journey through the pages of my books. And together, let's explore the magic of Jamaica. Make we go to Jamaica. Make we go to Jamaica to help to rebuild. Make we go to Jamaica to lend our support. Make we go to Jamaica to see the beautiful island that we have. Make we go to Jamaica. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Peter Okonkwo, and I'm going to be talking about my recently released book, Kwame, Come Home, which was published last month, 12th of October 2025. And thank you very much for having me on the show, Makonnen. So the story of Kwame was actually first published in my second publication, Fate in the Dungeon of Doom, where it was published as a scattered poems, actually, where we get to hear about the story of Kwame, what led to his disappearance, the pain that his mother, Vanessa, had to go through these years of searching for him indefinitely. And in Fate in the Dungeon of Doom, those people who read the story of Kwame back then were actually one of those people that really inspired me to take on the story further and to want to expound more on what actually happened to Kwame. In Fate, we get to hear about, Kwame's story, the pain he had to go through, and more particularly, we didn't hear from Kwame's point of view back then because Iten, which is Kwame's younger brother, and Vanessa, which is Kwame's mother, were the main protagonists in it. They are the main people telling the story of, how Kwame has gone missing with no trace of his whereabouts, and how Vanessa had to endure the years of pain, the pain of grief, not knowing if her son is alive or dead, the pain she had to go through, the grief, the shame as well that she had to endure from mockers and those who would make jokes of her and said, oh, where's the son used to boast of, etc. And most of those poems back then were written in Vanessa's point of view. You have Vanessa in some poem telling the story, and you have in some other poem Kwame telling his own story. Telling his own story. So it was interwoven in that manner that you have each character narrating their own mystery and sharing their own point of view of what they actually know of regarding Kwame's disappearance. So those people who read the book back then always keep pestering me, Peter, what happened to Kwame later on? Was he ever found? Did he ever come home? Etc. And I thought to myself, it's actually quite interesting and I really need to create a new work. So that was what inspired the making of Kwame Come Home, that I have to keep going further to expand how the story came to be. So in this new publication that was published last month, we've been hearing about Kwame's pain from Vanessa's point of view. We've been hearing about Kwame's mystery from Iten's point of view. And we also have other characters like Shibuike and other people intertwined in the story. But in this book, we are not introduced to Kwame himself, which is the main protagonist. So actually, in the book, we sort of have different protagonists. At some point, if you ask me, it's actually divided into two sections. So the part one is the grief, where we have Vanessa and Iten as the main protagonists. But I would say, in my home point of view, that Vanessa is the main protagonist in the first part of the poem. Then we have the second part, which details the journey of Kwame, not just Kwame, but together with his friend Jide, and the story of other people as well. So we begin to hear from Kwame's point of view. Then Kwame come into the picture and he started narrating the story as well. What led to disappearance? And that's how the story keep moving over and over again. And just like a very lovely and wonderful review that I got from Canada last 2 weeks, she made a statement that as one group grieves, the other group embarks on the treacherous journey. They had no idea if they're going to return, come back home, etc. So I have woven the pain of motherhood, and I have woven if you're a mother, you would really be engrossed with this story. Not just for mothers, I think it's open for everybody. They have empathy, everybody. Whole story of stuck displacement, it's a top priority for. And actually, it's really interesting because here's Kwame searching for a greener pasture, and the things he had to go through, the horror that he had to endure, and the regret that he had. I wouldn't give much information away, but all of that is what was contained in Kwame Come. And this is actually the first section of the book. The other complete version is going to be published in the fall of 2026, which is next year. That's where we get to know more about the story of Kwame. If you ever come home, I don't know. people forget. I've got a lot of readers ask me, "Do you think it's gonna ever come?" I don't know. Let's wait and see what happens. Actually, quite interested in further as I keep telling the story of Kwame, the more it keep growing in my head and it keep enlarging uncontrollably. And at some point, I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna utilize this. I'm gonna utilize it." So it's a story, but it is written in form of poetry. So it's called narrative poetry or prose poetry, whatever you wanted to call it. So this is the story of Kwame, and each character tells their own story. You have at one point Vanessa telling her own story, at another point Eten telling her own story, at another point you have Kwame himself coming to the picture, narrating his own story and tell, and also hear from Gide's point of view. And we have other characters as like that Kwame met along the journey, and what leads to them leaving their home country to seek a greener pasture, and what are some of the things they had to go through. Did they endure it? So these are the questions I would really love to leave readers with. But if it's really a hard poetry to write, and I must say that it is a story, it's a book that is so dear to my heart. And it's a bit quite different from the books that I've written in the past. I have written 6 books before this. So this is going to make my 7th book so far published. My first book is Ecstasy of the Dead. The second one is Fate, The Dungeon of Doom. The third one is Whose Fault, Kismet, Impediment, which is a poetry collection that seeks to demystify the sort of connection that exists between human fate and obstacle. Then I have the Escape from the Sin Dungeon book series, which the first series was A Cry for Mercy, very well received as well. Lovely, one of my favorite works as well. Then I have How the Demons Leave, and the 6th one, I Saw the Light. So far, most of the themes of my writing I've been communicating the themes of spirituality, themes of pain and lamentation, themes of philosophy, themes of epistemology, philosophy. I mean, in every book, and one thing I love to do while writing a book is to keep consistent theme in my book. If I'm talking about fate, for instance, in a book, I contain all the poems to talk about fate. If I'm talking about obstacle, in other instances, I have a trunk load, a shared load of all the poems talking about obstacle. So I'm very skilled in maintaining themes. If I'm talking about pain and lamentation, just like it is revealed in A Cry for Mercy, I love maintaining that theme. And here, pain, mystery, pain, particularly pain of motherhood. I remember when I was talking about it during the launch on the stage, the mothers on the stage were like this. They were like, and that really intrigued me, because they could, more like they're empathizing with Vanessa. And actually, Vanessa really went through a lot. She's one of my favorite characters in the book. And if you enjoy story that are written in form of poetry, I think everybody's actually going to find this book to be quite interesting, because it is also a book that really relates to most of the happening in our life today, most of the happenings that we see in the society, on news, the crossing of the Mediterranean, etc. And just like the map on front of the page cover of the book detail, the red lights are the route to which Kwame, his friends, and the other people he met along the journey took while attempting to find a greener pasture elsewhere. But how they go through it is what I will leave you to find out. While Vanessa, mother of Kwame, one of the things that makes it to be quite sad is the fact that Kwame left home with no words to anybody. He never told anybody about his whereabouts. He never told anybody if, wherever he's going to. So he just disappeared. And that alone leave a lot of hole of agony, of pain, of misery, of dejection, of frustration, of pain, of tears in our mother's heart, a poor mother that she is actually. So in an attempt to keep this the conversation a short one, that's what I take. That's my description of Kwame Common basically. And it's available on Amazon UK, Amazon US, everywhere. And it's sold for a few dollars. And I'm working on the second book come the fall of 2026. So thank you very much, Makonnen, for inviting me on and giving me the opportunity to share my work. I'm also the founder of P English Literature, an interviewer, journalist. I've interviewed more than 1,000 authors in the past 5 years. And yeah, thank you very much for having me on. Thank you.
Thank you, Makonnen, for inviting me to the International Book Show. It's very exciting. I became a new novelist this year, coming out with 2 novels, The Ghost of the Jangling Keys and The Ghost of Tomb 11, Teleramon, Egypt. I call these novels edutainment novels in that they are both entertaining and they teach something. And in my case, it's how to think like a writer. And here's the reason why. I became a teacher of primarily children and teens in danger to themselves or others. And I soon learned that I could not teach them anything without helping them transform the way they think and the way they behave. So I was searching for various techniques, and I have published these techniques in Art Smart Superior Learning in the Inclusive Classroom and Future in Our Hands, What Everyone Should Know About Education, Directive Drawing for Diagnosis, Intervention, and Development. And I really used art, music, and artful activities to reach and teach these troubled children and teens. And as I was looking and trying these things, I realized that they all fell under the heading of think like a writer. Because if you can transform their thinking, you can transform their behavior. And one of the best ways of transforming their thinking is creative writing, but I don't mean, it doesn't have to be written. It just has to be, I say, it has to be worth keeping. And in any form, whether it's writing, recording, audio, video, telling someone your story. So that was my main thing, think like a writer. And fortunately, I have traveled around the world teaching Think Like a Writer, kind of like brain-based learning, and through stage and through classrooms. So, like, I want to give you an example. I was the education director for a psychiatric hospital, and I learned something, that many of the teenagers who came there were writing poetry, not as an assignment, but they just had a need to kind of understand themselves and look at themselves through poems, through poetry. So this is how we change Think Like a Writer, where you change your perspective, or you change your location, or you change your characters in your own life, and usually model it through an imaginative life. So then the way this boy came up and he said, here's a poem I wrote for my mother. And he was so mad at his mother, and he was just, this poem was just going right after the mother. And I said, oh, do you want to make money out of your writing? He says, yes. And I said, well, here's a great idea. I mean, you've got this one poem, but what if you write a poem in the voice of your mother? And so next day he comes up and he shows me this poem that he wrote in the voice of his mother, which revealed a lot about the conflict and about who they were. And then he started writing poems all about anybody that was in his life, about the place where he lived. So that's just one example of think like a writer. And I also use a lot of puppetry, songwriting, poetry. Anyway, a couple of years ago, I decided, maybe I could reach a lot of people with this concept of think like a writer if I wrote a novel. And then I decided, well, I needed to write a novel series. I call it the Charles Stratton Mystery Novel Series. And in it, it starts with a young boy. He's only 10, but he's already a writer. He's very angry. He's a troubled boy, and he's defiant and testy. And his parents just send him away to a French. He lives in Newport, Rhode Island, and they send him away to a French boarding school, and he is really mad, and he's going to run away. He was really angry. He's not going to participate. He's not going to smile at anyone or talk to anyone, and he was very determined. And during this book, he starts meeting people that influence him, and he starts seeing that he can influence other people. So it's a developmental. But when you do an edutainment novel, the very first thing, it has to be entertaining. So it has to be mysterious, adventuresome, historical, interesting. The second book, you might notice these are not little books. This is like over 700 pages, and this is over 350 pages. And that's because one of the principles of Think Like a Writer is that thinking is a habit, and in order to transform thinking, it takes focus and time. So you can't come to a kid and say, stealing that kid's eraser every time you go by his desk, let's say, and is really not advantageous for you or for that kid. Could you stop? Well, no, because his brain, for whatever reason, he needs attention, or he just has a desire to have an eraser, or whatever the reason is. So you have to do something like could you think you could go a whole day without bothering that boy? Do you think you could? So then you just do one day, and they may fall back, just like you. I mean, me at least, when I'm trying to break one of my habits. Oh, I have an example of this habit. That's myself. I had this when I was going through college. I had this teacher, and she invited me over her house for dinner, and I was just so excited. I got a teacher inviting me, Dr. Jean Delson, and we had dinner, and she said, "You know that you're in two of my classes, and you apologize, say I'm sorry about 50 times a day." And she said, this isn't good for you to go around saying that I'm sorry that I even take any of this air from the universe or something, or for the atmosphere. So she said, I'm going to point to you every time you say I'm sorry. So I was there for a semester, and she wouldn't say anything to me, and she never asked me over for dinner again, and we were just teacher and student. But it broke me, that habit. But it took almost 9 weeks or 10 weeks just to break that little habit. And it's the same with other people. So I thought, if I want to break or build habits, I have to make long books. You like that idea? So I hope that you will be interested enough to look for these books, which I call edutainment novels, and you can find them on Amazon. And I thank you very much. Bye.
Hi everyone, I'm Amara Antoine, author of Legacy and Desire and creator of the Lovers Rock Romance series. It's such a joy to be here with you to share the heart behind my work, stories that celebrate Black love, legacy and rhythm. So what's my inspiration and where did it all begin? Well, it began with the music, the rhythm of love, legacy and survival. Lovers Rock. That soft, soulful rhythm that carried through our homes and parties, expressing tenderness even when the world around us felt harsh. I wanted to capture that same rhythm on the page, the emotion, the hope, and the beauty of Black British love. And I pay homage to the Lovers Rock legends who gave us this beautiful genre in the first place. Their music formed the backdrop to my own growing up years, shaping how I saw love, culture, and connection. And through Legacy and Desire, I want readers to feel that nostalgia, and for a new generation to feel that same connection, to be inspired by the music, the memories, and the magic of who we were in the 80s and who we still are. About the story. At its heart, Legacy and Desire follows Vincent Blake, a self-made managing director, driven and disciplined, and Rochelle Prosper, an ambitious intern from Brixton with a quiet fire. Their worlds collide through ambition, attraction, and boundaries neither plan to cross. It's a story about respect, sensuality, and the courage to love with honor. The Lovers Rock connection. What makes Legacy and Desire unique is how music shapes the storytelling. Every chapter carries its own rhythm, just like every love has its own song. Lovers Rock isn't just the backdrop, it's the heartbeat. It reminds us that tenderness, too, can be revolutionary. And because music is such an essential part of the experience, I've curated playlists on Spotify and YouTube so readers can hear the same songs that inspired each scene. It's all part of bringing the world of Lovers Rock romance to life through both words and sound. The Edge of Control. Let me share a short passage from the book. This scene takes place just after seeing Rochelle with another man in a restaurant. Vincent's composure finally cracks. He follows her outside into the humid Brixton night, and in that charged, breathless moment, the line between power and passion disappears. Chapter 11. Nothing Left to Hide. The Edge of Control.
If I gave my heart to you, girl, well, yeah.
Rochelle could hardly breathe. Vincent Blake stood before her in the humid Brixton night, coat gone, sleeves rolled, heat radiating from the hard lines of his frame. But it was his eyes that undid her. Those weren't the eyes of her MD. They were a man's eyes. Hungry, raw, unraveled. "Tell me you don't feel it, Rochelle," he said, his voice hoarse, like it scraped against something inside him to admit even this much. She should have walked away, should have reminded them both who they were, boss and intern, not lovers tangled in shadows. But when his hand cupped her jaw, thumb brushing the tender hollow beneath her ear, all her carefully constructed walls caved. "I feel it," she whispered, voice cracked open. And then he kissed her. Oh God, it wasn't soft, it wasn't safe, it was possession. His mouth claimed hers like he had a right, like the hunger he'd buried for weeks had finally broken free. Her gasp turned into a moan as his hand gripped her waist, pulling her flush against him. She felt every hard inch of him, every beat of his pulse, wild, frantic, thudding against her ribs. Heat spiraled low and hot inside her. Her body moved without permission, leaning, pressing, craving. She was fire and skin and sensation. Then she tried to pull away. "It's not enough," she gasped. "No," he growled. "Let me show you enough. This time you won't forget." He caught her hand and led her, urgent, reckless, into the shadowed side alley. Pressed her back against the brick, one arm locked around her waist, the other drew her mouth to his mercilessly. Eyes blazing, he kissed her again, relentless, consuming, and took her breath away. This time she melted, she moaned. Shock and desire tangled in her chest. She loved it. She loathed it, all at once. Thoughts crashed through the heat. This shouldn't be happening, not here, not like this, not now. But it was. Fear surged as his intensity deepened, as his body answered hers without hesitation. She pulled away, breathless, stunned. He didn't follow, didn't push. Vincent just stood there, expression locked, chest heaving, his eyes still devouring her. "I can't," she whispered. Her voice trembled. "I can't be that girl." His whole frame tensed, not from anger, but from something worse. Regret, restraint, need. But he nodded once, small, slow, and let her go, for now.
Would you tear it apart, or would you treasure it?
That scene captures the sound of their connection, raw, unpredictable, and full of rhythm. And that's what makes Legacy and Desire unique. Just like every Lovers Rock song tells its own love story, every chapter in this book carries its own rhythm. Every story has a soundtrack. Each Lovers Rock romance novel comes with its own playlist, songs that mirror the mood, the time, and the emotional pulse of the characters. When readers step into these stories, I want them to hear the music, the laughter, the longing, the rhythm of our generation. Because the world of Lovers Rock romance isn't just read, it's felt. It's lived through every note, every beat, every emotion that shaped who we were and who we still are. Access to the Legacy and Desire discographies can be found on the loversrockromance.com website. Lovers Rock Romance Vision. Legacy and Desire is only the beginning. The next book, Love in the Balance, follows two legal professionals whose love challenges ambition and ethics in equal measure. Each story stands alone, yet they are all connected through the pulse of Lovers Rock, that timeless rhythm of Black British love. Where love meets legacy. If there's one thing I hope readers take away, it's that love can be powerful, purposeful, and deeply rooted in who we are. The 80s were our soundtrack, an era when music carried our stories, our pride, and our hope. Legacy and Desire celebrates that rhythm, the fashion, the language, the energy of the Lovers Rock generation, And I've included a short glossary at the end of the book for readers who want to step right into that world. For anyone who'd like to experience the story, Legacy and Desire is available now in paperback and on Kindle, wherever books are sold, including Amazon, Waterstones, Barnes & Noble, and bookshop.org. You can also visit loversrockromance.com to explore the world of the series, from the playlists to the behind-the-scenes notes, and connect with me, Amara Antoine, across social media. I'd love for you to join the journey, share your thoughts and memories, and your own rhythm of love. Feel free to contact me at ceo@amaraantoine.com. And for press and media inquiries, contact my publicity team at press@loversrockromance.com. On Instagram, you can find me in Lovers Rock Romance, TikTok, Lovers Rock Romance, and on Twitter, Lovers Rock 80s. Thank you so much for being here and for keeping the music, the culture, and the legacy of our stories alive. And last but not least, thank you so much, Makonnen, for inviting me onto your book show. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, it's great to be here. And thank you, everyone, for listening in.
Thank you everyone for watching this edition of the International Book Show, November 2025. The show was sponsored by Jimmy Asher Foundation, Nubian Nigist Books, and author Barty Dare. Please join us for this December 2025 International Book Show, which will be on P English Literature, the International Book Show Facebook group, and our website internationalbookshow.com. The video of December's International Book Show will be available by the end of December.